Okay, so sit yourself just on your left. So come into a good cross-legged position. And just come into Namaste. So that light hopefully will, I think the sun is just kind of shining directly in the lens. It's not really directly in the lens at the moment, but I think it will die down as the class goes on. So it's getting worse, but it should get, I think the sun just passes, I think. So just feel that you're sitting evenly on both seat bones. Lift and open the chest and draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Look down at the floor. Look at something that's not moving. So focus on long, slow, deep, deliberate in-breaths. Fill in the lungs from the bottom to the top. And emptying the lungs from the bottom, from the top to the bottom. So fill in the lungs from the bottom to the top. Emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. Observe that you're breathing evenly into both lungs. And evenly out of both lungs. Just gently close your eyes, focusing your attention on the breath. Filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. And then once that rhythm of breath feels as though it has really embedded, I want you to focus on drawing the energy of the breath from the perineum to the collarbone with the in-breath. So it rises up along the entire length of the spine. And then the out-breath draws from the collarbone down towards the perineum. Bring your hands into Namaste. Just focusing on long, slow, deep, deliberate in-breaths. Long, slow, deep, deliberate out-breaths. So this breath from the perineum to the collarbone and the collarbone to the perineum is the Aparnic Breath. So whenever I say Aparnic Breath, whenever I say use your Aparnic Breath, I mean draw the energy of the breath from the perineum to the collarbone. And then the collarbone down to the perineum with the out-breath. So the Aparnic Breath. exhalation, draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone. Hold on to that feeling as you release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards, and then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Grip around your knees, lift and open the chest, drive the spine upwards, take a good, strong, deep inhalation in through your nose. And then turn with the Aparnic exhalation, drawing the abdomen to the left, from the left to the right. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the sound of the breath. And then come back to the center, lift and open the chest, drive your spine upwards. Fill the lungs completely and then turn to the left side, drawing the abdomen from the left to the right. Just listen to the sound of the breath, drawing the abdomen across the ribs, across the shoulders, across. And then gently come back to the center, come back down onto your seat bones, sit back on your heels. If you're avoiding sitting back on your heels, just sitting cross legs, and you can come forwards in Adho Mukha swastikasana. So wriggle into your heels, so wriggle in, just drawing the outer buttock flesh into the insides of the heels, and then lift and open the chest, drive your spine upwards, take a good Aparnic inhalation, and then with the exhalation, an Aparnic exhalation, come forwards, keeping your back straight, hinging at the hips, focusing on the Aparnic breath. Coming down slowly, hinging at the hips. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Just focusing on the movement of the Aparnic breath. Come up onto your knees, turn your toes under, have your feet as wide apart as the mat, and then come up into dog down. Bending your knees to start off with, incorporating the Aparnic breath. Maintaining connection between The palms of the hands, really pressing the palms of the hands deeply into the floor, straightening the legs, tadasanaizing the legs. Finding that extra moment of extension at the end of the out breath. Drawing in energy with the in breath. And then distributing that energy with the out breath. Step forward, come up into a standing position, and then just have your feet as wide apart as your mat. Have your feet with the toes turning in slightly so that the outsides of the mat are lining up with the outside of your foot lines up with the edge of your mat. Raise your arms up, hook the thumbs into the crease of the elbows, wrap your fingers around your elbows. Take a good inhalation and then come forwards and down with the exhalation. Just let the body hang down, but keep the legs sharp, activating the legs, lifting from the feet up into the shins, into the thighs, into the seat bones. Breathing evenly and deeply listening to the sound of the breath. Working with the Aparnic Breath. Rising the energy of the in-breath from the perineum to the collarbone. Noticing that that gives the spine more space to come forwards and lengthen. And then with the out-breath, when it's down all the way into the perineum, you have more space to come down and forwards as well. Bring your hands down onto the floor, extend the chin and the chest forwards. So you come into Halfutanasana. If you can reach around the backs of your heels, then do. Otherwise, stay at Halfutanasana using blocks under your hands if you need to, or you can go back into the hanging down. Otherwise, broaden the abdomen, bend your elbows out to the sides, and then grip around the backs of your heels. Stamp the heels down, but try and lift them up, maintaining Aparnic Breath. Okay, release the heels Come back to Halfutanasana. And then walk your hands forwards, come back into dog down. Hands are shoulder width apart this time. Lifting up into the seat bones and then step back and bring the feet hip width apart. Breathing evenly. Listening to the sound of the breath. Focusing on that Aparnic breath, especially the end of the Aparnic breath. Okay, and then just step the feet forwards, come up into a standing position. And then come into Tadasana. Just focus on activating your Tadasana. Tadasanaizing your legs, tucking the tailbone in without drawing the legs forwards. Extending the spine out of the hips, up into the armpits, up into the chest. Lengthening the shoulders down into the fingertips. Lengthening the neck out of the spine, up into the head. Focus on aparnically breathing within your Tadasana. Just lift your toes. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards your chest, and then step or jump nice and wide with your legs. For trikonasana, turn your left toes in, your right leg and foot all the way out, aligning your legs for your hips if you need to, so bringing that front foot forwards for the hips if you need to. Otherwise, aligning that heel with the instep of the back leg. Taking a Aparnic in-breath. As you inhale, feel as though you're almost scooping your energy out of your feet, up into your hips, up into the chest. And then go down on an Aparnic out-breath. Just look down at the floor rather than up, but turn the chest up to face the ceiling. So just be in the pose with the breath. Feeling the extension of the legs. Feeling the turning of the chest, reaching up into the top hand, remembering that action as if you're pulling a belt between the two hands. So although you're looking down, turn the chest up to face the ceiling. Focus evenly on working both legs, working into the back leg. Come up on an in-breath. Keep your arms outstretched, swap your feet around, turn your right toes in, and your left leg and foot all the way out. Aligning that foot appropriately for your hips if need be. Suck the in-breath from the feet up into the chest, and then come down on an Aparnic out-breath. Looking down but turning the chest to face the ceiling. Just focus on the Aparnic breath from the perineum to the collarbone. And with the out-breath from the collarbone down to the perineum, focusing on the end of that out-breath. and the energy that you find within that end of out breath. Maintaining the Aparnic breath. And again, come up on an in-breath. Turn feet inwards and then step or jump your feet back together. And then come back into Tadasana. So Tadasana does a huge amount in clearing out the sinuses. So it clears out your head as well. So I'm feeling very sinusy this morning. After trikonasana, it feels as though that feeling is clearing a little. Breathe evenly and deeply listening to the sound of the breath. Aparnic inhalations, Aparnic exhalations. Stretch your arms forwards, interlock the fingers, turn the palms all the way out. And then with an exhalation, raise your arms over your head. Aparnic inhalations and exhalations. And then just bring your arms down, swap the interlock of your fingers so we're opening up the action of the shoulders, turn the palms all the way out, and then raise the arms up. Are you focused just on the upper body, or is your lower body really firmly creating that Tadasana foundation? And then bring your arms back down, just come back into Tadasana. So uttanasana we often do with our feet apart, but proper kind of full uttanasana is in the feet are in Tadasana. So it's not as easy to come down into full uttanasana as it is in uttanasana when the legs are apart. So have some blocks where you can reach them, and then bring your feet together. Just be in Tadasana. Listen to the breath and activate the breath. So activate from the feet into the shins, into the thighs, into the pelvis, into the lower spine, into the abdomen, into the rib cage, into the shoulders, into the neck, into the head. Raise your arms up, turn the palms to face the front, hinge at the hips, keeping your back entirely straight. Come forwards, hinging at the hips. The more you tadasanaize at those legs, the more you turn the fronts of the thighs inwards, the easier it comes to hinge at the hips. The more you broaden the backs of the thighs, the easier it comes to hinge at the hips. So find the blocks. And then work at first. At first, maybe your back is doing this a little bit. It's kind of rounding. So can you turn the fronts of the thighs inwards? Can you turn the backs of the thighs outwards and then lift the seat bones away from the backs of the thighs? Draw the front rim of the pelvis into the tops of the legs and then project the front chest forwards. So tadasana your legs might make your heels separate a little bit. That's not the end of the world. If that happens, then just allow it, because it means that you're turning the thighs in order to accommodate the hips. Now at this stage, see if you can come down lower. If you're protecting your back, just stay at the top level. Projecting the chin and the chest all the way, all the time, lifting, so turning the thighs, lifting the seat bones, drawing the front rim of the pelvis into the tops of the thighs. See if you can find the floor. So as soon as you start to kind of round your back or bend your knees, then go back to the previous level. Turn the thighs inwards, the backs of the thighs outwards, lift the seat bones, draw the front rim of the pelvis into the tops of the legs, project the chin and the chest forwards. Breathe using the Aparnic Breath. Really drawing the end of the Aparnic exhalation into the hips. But maintain the projection of the front chest. Keep the head lifted. If you can go down further, then broaden your abdomen. Feel that the abdomen kind of broadens at the middle, drawing out to the abdominal walls, and bend your elbows out to the sides. Again, this is strong for backs, so don't overdo it. If you've got a problem with your back, just use the blocks instead. Try to make sure that your weight doesn't hit forwards into your toes as you come forwards all the more. Hit your legs back so that you can feel that your weight drives into your heels. Turn the fronts of the thighs in, lift the seat bones, draw the front rim of the pelvis into the tops of the legs, project the chin and the chest forwards. If you can, bring your hands down onto the floor, the palms of the hands onto the floor, with your fingernails in line with your toenails. Continue to breathe aponically. Turn the thighs, the fronts of the thighs in, the backs of the thighs out. Lift the seat bones away from the backs of the thighs. Draw the front rim of the pelvis into the tops of the thighs. Lengthen the spine, projecting the spine forwards. And then from there, you can then bend your elbows out to the side, drawing your body along the front of your legs. If you can, walk your hands beyond your feet. So they're behind they're kind of shoulder width apart, but behind your heels. Continue with the Aparnic Breath. Okay, walk your hands forward so that they come back underneath your shoulders. And then walk your hands forwards again so you come up into dog down. So hands shoulder width apart, step your feet hip width apart. And then just coming back into dog down, Adho Mukha Svanasana, maintaining that Aparnic Breath, maintaining the action of the legs as in uttanasana. Turning the fronts of the thighs in, the backs of the thighs out, lifting the back seat bones away from the backs of the thighs, drawing the front rim of the pelvis into the tops of the legs, and then lengthening, projecting the front chest forwards, away from the legs, maintaining your Aparnic Breath. Come down onto your knees, bring your feet, your big toes together, sit back on your heels, and then lift and open the chest. Just breathe evenly and deeply listening to the sounds of the breath. And then again, hinge at the hips, turn the tops of the thighs inwards, the backs of the thighs outwards, and then come into uttanasana, stretching forwards, bringing your forehead down onto the floor. Okay, and then come back, sit back on your heels. So we're going to go up into either headstand or supta baddhakonasana. So headstands are really good for the immune system. They just keep the immune system kind of ticking along nicely. So if you know that you can do a headstand and you can do it against the wall, then you can just go up into a headstand and go up into the wall. If you don't think you can go into headstand, or if you don't feel comfortable about kicking yourself up, then I'm going to talk you through the stages of the pose. So usually we do this in the middle of the room just to get that feeling of kind of lift and elevation. But today I want you to do it by the wall. So I'm just gonna. I don't really have a wall that I can. That wall's not big enough. So I'm going to use this, which is going to kind of be my wall. It's enough. But if you've got, I would recommend that you use something much more wall-like, something that's kind of more sturdy. So just find a place by your wall. You might want to fold your mat over a couple of times to give yourself some extra cushioning. So let's all do that. So I've got quite a soft floor anyway, but I don't want it to be too soft, because too soft kind of destabilizes the pose. So the only time I've ever fallen out of a headstand was when I used a mat that had too much cushioning, and because the cushioning was there was too much kind of differentiation in the kind of bounciness of it, it made me fall over. So you want some cushioning underneath underneath yourself, but not too much. So if you're wearing glasses, it's good to take them off for this. So the first stage, all we're going to do to start off with is just come into the first stage of the pose. So just interlock your fingers and then bring your knuckles into the wall. So the knuckles make contact with the wall, and make sure it's not just the knuckles of the index finger. Bring the knuckles of the little finger and the ring finger close to the wall as well, and then keep the cup of your hands open, and then lengthen the thumbs towards the knuckles. Make sure that your elbows are as wide apart as your shoulders and no more. So if they go any wider than your shoulders, then it's a collapse in action. You need that kind of direct elbow underneath shoulder to bring stability to the pose. And then the first time, we're not going to bring our head to the floor at all. What we're going to do is bring the chin in towards the chest, and then come up onto your knees and let your head float off the floor. So don't have your head on the floor. And then you're going to turn your toes under. Now you've got to lengthen from the armpits into the elbows. Really make that length really work specifically from the armpits into the elbows. Turn your toes under, and then come up into like a dog down kind of position, pressing the knuckles into the floor slightly, lengthening the armpits into the elbows, and just letting the head be free. The head isn't touching the floor yet. And then work to really tadasanaise those legs. Hinge at the hips. And work with the Aparnic breath. And then come down onto your knees, and then just sit back on your hips, sit on your heels, but keep your hands where they are. Now, when we do it with the hands, in that kind of dog down action, what tends to happen is that the hands kind of close, the heels of the hands come together, but we want this cup of the hands to remain open. So the second time we do it, let me just show you before I talk you into it. You're going to bring your chin into your chest, bring the top of the head onto the floor, and just walk the base of the skull into the heel of the hand. So you can turn the toes under. Same action, lengthening from the armpits into the elbows, but this time you're just going to walk yourself in until your back makes contact with the floor, and then you're going to stay there for a moment or two. Again, there should be little to no weight on your head, and then try coming down. So the wall probably feels much further away than you expect it to. So just come in and out of that action a few times. So don't just bring the shoulder blades into the wall, walk the hips into the wall as well. So when your shoulder blades touch, and you've got to lengthen from your armpits into your elbows, tadasanaise your legs, and then walk your lower back into the wall as well, because your shoulder blades need to come in. So breathe in evenly and deeply, just listening to the sound of the breath. Okay, and then sit yourself just back on your heels. So the next stage is going up, and you might not feel comfortable to go up, and really, we need to, it would be better if we were in the same room together, so I could help you to pick up your legs. But the way to learn how to do that is to kind of just do one leg at a time to start off with. So I'll show you. So you just come down, work the head into the hands, and then walk your back into the wall. And then when your back is into the wall, then you just raise one leg, bring it down, raise the other leg, bring it down. So just see if you can do that while maintaining this length from the armpit into the elbow. So you get, if you've had enough of going upside down, then just go into supta baddhakonasana. But just see if you can go up one leg at a time, but try and maintain the levelness of the hips as you raise that leg. So keep that leg straight if you can. Keep turning the leg as if you're doing tadasana. Just breathing evenly and deeply, maintaining that Aparnic breath. Okay, and then just gently come down. So the final stage, and I can't really do this properly because I don't have a full wall. I suppose I've got that one, but I've got things in the way, is where you do all of those first stages, walking your head in, and then you stretch your legs up. Now, I don't really like doing it against the wall because I feel like it doesn't give you a kind of a real sense of levelness. I think you kind of sink in the shoulder blades, but it gets you upside down. So if you haven't got a full wall, don't try and go up, but just try and do that first stage again. And once you're in the stage that you're comfortable with, then apply the Aparnic breath. So if you've had enough of going upside down, then go into supta baddhakonasana. But if you can, just come into whichever stage of the pose that you are comfortable with, and then apply the Aparnic breath. Just apply that Aparnic breath. breathe in evenly and deeply. So don't try and kick all the way up if you're not ready. Okay, everyone come down, and then just rest yourself down on the floor. Come into supta, baddhakonasana. So just relying on the straight line of the floor to rest the spine. Just breathe evenly and deeply listening to the sound of the breath. Just observe the clarity of your head. So I started this session particularly with a very foggy head because I've either got kind of a head cold or hay fever again. But the actions, the poses starts to clarify the fog out of the brain. Just breathe evenly and deeply, listening to the sounds of the breath. Just applying the Aparnic Breath. Just feeling the hips opening at the front. Feeling the restfulness of the spine. So opening the hips and opening the chest is good for positive thinking. And then just gently draw your knees towards each other. Have your knees together, your feet apart. And then pull your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from top to bottom, from side to side. And then gently roll over onto your right side and then sit yourself up. So we're going to go into viparita karanhi, but ideally you need a lift underneath your lower back, just to kind of increase the inversion slightly. So I'll show you. So you're going to use, if you've got a bolster, then use your bolster. If you don't have a bolster, then I'll show you how to use the blocks. So you're just going to come down onto the floor and then lift the seat bones light. You're going to go up into setu bandha, but you bring the bolster into the lower back, into the kind of lower lumbar, into the sacrum area, grip around the mat, and then bend your knees and lift your legs up to the ceiling. If you haven't got a bolster, then just get a couple of these blocks, just put it underneath the lower back. If you've got 4, then that's even better, and then just raise your legs up. So don't be on something like this that you're going to have to balance on. That isn't going to be good. So go on something that feels kind of broad and secure. So either a bolster or some cushions, or you can use your blocks. So just bring your lower back into the bolster to start off with, and then come right up onto the tops of the shoulders. Turn the palms to face up to the ceiling. so that the collarbone becomes broad, and then bend your knees and then elevate your legs towards the ceiling. Extend your legs up to the ceiling, breathing evenly in through the nose and out through the nose. Listening to the sounds of the breath. Breathing evenly in the Aparnic inhalation, keeping the chest lifted and open. Just breathing evenly in through the nose and out through the nose, just feeling the lift of the legs, feeling the reversal of gravity on the limbs. Maintaining the Aparnic breath. So again, inversions are good for the immune system. This is quite a gentle inversion, but try and maintain the lift of the chest all the way through. Again, that fogginess tends to start clearing with inversions. Okay, just bend your knees and then bring your feet back down onto the floor. Just stay with the lift underneath you for a moment. Just rest down into the bolster. And then just lift yourself up, move the bolster out of the way, come down onto the floor, pull your knees in towards your chest. Just a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just gentle massage on the spine. And then just gently roll onto your right side, sit yourself up into a cross-legged position, and then just come into cross legs for a moment. Just grip around your knees, lift and open the chest. Take a good inhalation, Aparnic inhalation, and then turn to the left. Sorry, to the right side. Turn to the right. And then come back to the center, lift and open the chest, drive your spine upwards. And then turn to the left. And then come back to the center. Just get your blanket, just fold it so that it's going to create a little pillow for underneath your head, and then prepare yourself for just your final shavasana. Move your equipment out of the way so that you can just stretch out without feeling trapped by the equipment. And then just bring yourself down in a really good straight line right down the center of your mat, bringing the blanket into the back of your neck, and then stretch your arms out just to the sides, palms facing upwards. Let the legs fall apart, and then just gently release into the floor. Breathing evenly and deeply, listening to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Just allowing yourself to release into the floor and go of the muscles of the arms and of the legs. Allowing the feeling of energy to rise to the uppermost skin. Just distribute that feeling of lightness evenly throughout the body. Just transforming your energy And then wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers, bring yourself back into this pose of shavasana. And then bend your knees, draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just giving yourself a gentle massage on the spine. And then very gently roll over onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then stretch out the top leg, come back up into a seated position, just a final cross legs with your hands in the masti, just a final spinal lift. Just bringing the breath back to a normal rhythm. Drawing your in-breath in, down into the abdomen, the Aparnic Breath. It helps you to observe your energy. So observe the energy that you've released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions, the forward bends, the twists, the inversions bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to seek to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then very gently release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel as though you have kind of lifted fogginess from the brain and given yourself some good energy for the rest of your day. So thank you very much for joining me. Thank you.